Okay, so for the students who are on remote teaching, there'll be maybe some slight differences in your schedule, but basically we're all doing the same thing. So welcome, those of you who are taking the RT portion of the class. Let me get this up here. All right. Cultural anthropology, notice it is listed as a GSS, which means what? What's the G? Do you guys ever get any orientation on what these codes mean when you come here? G is for Gen Ed, just like M is missions, MU. ME is, actually M is ministry, then you have ME, MU, but G is Gen Ed. This used to be a missions course, but a few years ago, they changed it to a Gen Ed course because education majors need this to fulfill one of their requirements. I don't think anybody here is an education major, if I remember correctly. And we also changed the name of it. A few years ago, it was called cross-cultural communication, which really characterizes the majority of what we do in this class. Okay, not only that, but there is a lot of cross-cultural communication involved. But cultural anthropology is a little more generic, and if there are transfers of credits, or if Christian schools or public schools want to see transcripts, it's nice to see cultural anthropology. So I'm just giving you a little background as to why that's the case. All right. At the beginning, there's a little, I don't know if anybody took the time to listen to that. It's not a big deal. We're going to repeat everything anyway. But you can see there are a few links on Canvas, and I'm going to go ahead and download the course syllabus and open it up so we can look it over together this morning. One other thing I would say is that until this year, this class has been a 2-day class, 11 to 12:15, the longer period. But we actually switched this class with Theology of Missions. Let's see, James, did you take Theology of Missions yet? That's coming up. Anybody in here had I don't think anybody's taken that. It used to be the other way around. Theology of Missions was a second-year course, and this was a fourth-year course. We've flip-flopped that for a couple of reasons. One, the content in Theology of Missions is a little bit deeper, if I can use that word. We do some interesting things in that class. But also, anybody who's thinking about doing the Faith Abroad program for a semester has to have linguistics and cultural anthropology. So we thought by putting it in the second year, then those who want to take it don't have to find a way to finagle it, and bring it back close, earlier in their course schedule. That makes sense? So and I'm really glad we changed it to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class because it really fits what we're doing better. It's easier for us to track the subjects that we want to accomplish by doing it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay, so that just a little background. Let me zoom this for you so we can see it. And I know you guys know how to read, so I'm not going to read everything on here. Little biography, course meeting times. Here's the description. This course focuses on the diversity of global culture. Let me stop right there. When I say the word diversity, what comes to your mind? Paul? Everything. Yeah, it takes in a lot. There's a political twist to that, a political connotation today that I am not intending to communicate here, okay? Diversity is a good thing. It's a necessary thing. God created that. And I mean, just looking around the classroom, there is a ton of diversity right here in this class, and we're a small class. Okay, but diversity has taken on some political nuances that, that head us in a direction we don't want to go. But we do want to celebrate diversity. Okay. In fact, thinking about diversity, let's just start over here and do two things. Tell me where you're from, where you consider home right now, but tell me of any ethnic background that you're aware of in your family line. Okay. It may not be obvious to everybody, but James, start with you.
I'm from Central Kansas, and I think it's more German Mennonite.
German Mennonite, Busenitz. And there's lots of Busenitzes, and some haven't even met each other, right, down there. Yeah, good. Jules?
I'm I'm from Clear Lake, Iowa, but I am originally from China.
Okay, all right, background in China. Do you dabble at all with Mandarin?
No.
Okay, all right, good.
I'm from Illinois, but my family is from
From
Armenia.
Armenia, all right, very good, good. Riley?
I'm from Arizona, but my dad is from South Korea.
All right. So he was born in South Korea?
Yeah.
When did he move to the States?
He was adopted in at the age of 3.
All right. And your mom is American?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. Emma?
I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and German, Scottish. Yeah.
German what?
Irish.
Irish. Okay, you'll have to excuse me if I don't, there is, sometimes the thing is blowing, but also I have a ring that has kind of increased in this right ear, and I checked him, the doctor says the ear's clean, so it's just, he says it's old age, so, you know, well, so if I have to ask you to repeat something, that's why I have some competing sounds going on, right? So, all right, so Irish, okay. I should show you our family picture. We got a ton of red hair, and I don't know if it's all from Ireland or not, but I think there's more Irish blood in my family than I ever knew to be true. Justin?
Live in Sioux City, Iowa, but a lot of German and a little bit of Dutch heritage.
Okay, German and Dutch. All right, good. Paul?
I'm from Congo and I guess Africa.
Okay, all right, pretty, maybe ethnically you would be, if I can use the word, more pure than some of the others in terms of your ethnic background?
Yes, because we're from the central.
Yeah, good, good. All right, Ella?
I'm from St. Ansgar, Iowa. There's like a lot of Norwegian.
Norwegian. So when we talk about the Nordic cluster later on, that'll be a special interest. All right, and Miriam?
I'm from Germany, and I'm 100% German. There's no, like, we're just Germans.
Okay, all right. And Miriam also took the linguistics course last week, so you guys already had a week under your belts. All right, and my background, Lounsborough, is somewhat debated, but it appears to be English. Some have suggested it has some German. Is OUGH a common ending in German? Not, it's not. Okay. So apparently it's mostly English, and that's my background. So, I mean, there's a lot of diversity even in this small classroom here with, 10 students or however many we have in here, 8. So, diversity of global cultures, and it equips the student to engage them. Selected textbooks provide the student with basic tools for discerning cultural distinctions. We'll introduce the concept of cultural intelligence. And if you've taken Intro to Missions, you've already dabbled in that a little bit. We presented the concept, whereby the student is equipped to measure his or her ability to maneuver within cultures different from that which is familiar. We will study how cultures deal with societal changes, and special attention will be given to 10 cultural values that can be detected and analyzed in any culture. The countries of the world are also grouped into 10 geographic cultural clusters that reflect the values that we study. So it sounds like a mouthful, and it is, but we're going to wade through that sort of thing. And I want it to be practical, and I'd like to encourage as much communication, participation as we can, because this course is a whole lot better if we talk among each other. So we'll work at that. Okay, and you can see where it fits into the FBBC purpose for existing. Here are the textbooks, and there's a little bit of explanation necessary here. How many of you have already read 3D Gospel and Foreign to Familiar? Okay, so Paul, you're the only one that hasn't read those 2 books? Okay, so, and eventually there'll come a day when I'll just completely eliminate these, but I made a transition. I used to require these books in Intro to Missions, and now they're required, wait a minute. Yeah, anyway, I'm transitioning them, so eventually this won't be an issue. But I really want these to be textbooks more for this course. And so if you already read 3D Gospel and Foreign Familiar, then you will read those 2 down there under the asterisk, Cross-Cultural Conflict and Lingenfelter's book, Ministering Cross-Culturally. That makes sense? So I don't want you to read the same book twice, okay? So just keep that in mind, all right? And then there's some recommended books that you don't have to read. Now, there is another book that I want to add to the recommended list that I haven't, and that's this book right here. Little bitty book called Expand Your Borders, and it's a discussion of the 10 cultural clusters that we'll study later on in the semester. So we start off with 10 cultural values, then we'll switch to 10 cultural clusters, and this book deals with those in a real summary fashion. And the reason I'm not requiring this book, it's about, I don't know, $8 or $10. It's a really nice summary of the cultural and geographic clusters in the world, and I would encourage you to consider getting it. The reason that I'm going to add it to the recommended list is because there's an assignment in this class that you'll be doing that will necessitate an analysis of a cultural cluster, and this book could be a really nice reference tool. So I bought 2 of them. I'm going to put one of them on, in fact, I might put them both on 2-hour reserve over in the library in case you want to use them, okay? All right. Student outcomes. So let's get to that part. Number 1, the student who successfully completes this course will be able to demonstrate a sufficient grasp of the general course content by earning adequate grades on periodic exams called quests. I think everybody in here is familiar with what a quest is, right? Yeah, it's kind of a nice go-between a quest, a quiz, and a test. And then the reading in Livermore, which is your main textbook, will be recorded on the quest with a simple yes or no, okay? That's the main book called Cultural Intelligence. And actually, I owe a debt of gratitude to Dr. David Livermore because when I came to school here and I was assigned this course, I really had no idea what I was getting into. You might think that because I was a missionary for 19 years that I would just be able to, morph right into a course like this, but I wasn't, because even though I learned a lot of things about culture on the field, I really hadn't learned to categorize them or define them. And so when I picked up this course, I learned how to relate these concepts to one another, even though I had already learned. It's kind of like growing up in a country where you learn English or learn German in your country, but you may not necessarily know why you say certain things and how language fits together, right? And then you figure it out. So I listened to a great courses lecture series on this subject, and it really, really saved my skin. It really helped me to launch into this study. So that's the main textbook. Okay, then there is a final exam, and it's cumulative and it's open notes. Now, one thing I will tell you that I'm doing this year, and I'm probably going to lose some points for this among my students, I am no longer going to be giving study guides for any tests, quests, and any of the courses that I teach. And so I'm probably going to be a bad boy for this, but I'm just not doing it anymore. And part of the reason for that is because if I were in your shoes and I had a study guide, I would study the study guide and nothing else. And so I would be robbing myself of a lot of review and knowledge that I could gain on a broader scale. I've even had students write to me after a test and say, hey, Dr. Mark, questions 7 and 13 were not on the study guide, as if to say, you owe it to me to tell me everything that's going to be on the test, which is another way of saying, why don't you just hand me a copy of the exam in study guide form so that I can look at it? You know what I'm saying? And so I, for better or for worse, richer or poor, for popularity or unpopularity, I've eliminated study guides, okay? So hopefully I'll survive. Number 2, interact with cultural anthropology authors by submitting 3 book reports. And again, like I said before, if you've already read 3D Gospel and Foreign and Familiar, use the other 2 books in their place. Okay? Dwayne Elmer is a really interesting author. You'll enjoy reading him. He uses lots of illustrations, very practical, hands-on kind of stuff. And these reports would be a minimum of it'd be about 2 pages if you were typing double-spaced. These will all be on Canvas. There'll be your rubric looks like that, so you get an idea of what I'm expecting. When I say 3 insights gained, what I'm saying is I don't want you to just spit out what you read. This is what he says, this is what he says. I really would like you to tell me what was profitable to you. Does that make sense? Make it a little more personal rather than just spitting out what he said. All right, number 3, analyze articles treating a variety of anthropological topics. by reading an article and reporting on it in class. So there's a little in-class activity. It's not hard. You're going to read an article, and I've given you a list there below. You pick one out, and then both of these books, the perspectives books, these two perspective books are both on 2-hour reserve in the library. And so you're going to pick out an article from there. And these articles specifically deal with the area of cultural anthropology. These perspective books are like this thick. They're like $32 if you buy them in paperback. And they deal with a variety of missions topics. So I've picked out the ones that deal specifically with culture, that sort of thing. Okay? And so all I'm going to ask of you is a 5 to 7 minute presentation in class, and just sharing what you learned. So, in fact, if anybody would like to choose one of these, even today, just let me know. Otherwise, let's say that by Friday, let me see when the first one is going to be. Actually, they're coming up on the course schedule here. Let's see. Okay, I thought that I had that. So 1 second. Yeah. Okay, on the schedule that I just gave you, the paper copy, there's something missing that I have on the one that's in the syllabus. I'm not sure why it got deleted. But the first report is actually going to be next week. I have one a week. So if somebody is a brave soul and would like to snag an article right now and say, I'll do it next week, it could be, I don't care what day of the week it is, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. Notice it says at the top of the schedule there, assignments are due Saturdays. Now, okay, yeah, there's a difference on the, okay, I see what happened. Okay. All right, my wife wasn't aware of that. This paper copy I just gave you is really more for the online RT students, okay, because all their assignments are due on Mondays. So I apologize for that. It was just an honest mistake. Your assignments are all going to be due on Saturdays at midnight, except for the in-class article reports. So yeah, you'll probably just have to ignore this sheet of paper. My apologies. But the first article report will be next week. So if one of you is brave enough and would like to get it out of the way, read an article, just share what you learned, you could volunteer anytime, even during this class this morning. So think about it if you want it. You want to, Justin?
I'll do it.
All right. What I'll need from you is an article, unless you've already seen one on this list here that sounds interesting.
I found one that's sitting here right now.
All right, which one is it?
It's Making Disciples of Oral Learners
Okay.
by the International Orality Network.
All right.
437.
So Justin, Making Disciples of Oral Learners. You're a brave soul. And you can do it Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. I don't care.
Okay.
Whatever works for you, okay? All right, anybody else see one there that you like? I mean, we can go ahead and fill these in. There's one a week. So, since we're covered, you got one, Delaney?
Oh, I was going to ask if I could do clean and dirty, the cross.
Yes, yes. Would you like to do it the following week? Sure. I knew you would. Delaney, and that's a very interesting article. My wife actually took this class a few years ago, and that was the article she chose. It's fascinating. Clean and dirty cultures, or clean and, what's the title like specifically? Clean and dirty, yeah. Anybody else see one you like? Yeah, Emma?
Is God colorblind?
Good. They're all good articles. All right. So Emma, okay, can I put you on week 4 then? We'll just keep trucking right through here. I know what some of you are thinking. If I wait long enough, I'll be at the end. There are advantages of getting it out of the way early, you know. All right. Is God colorblind? Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Riley?
Why communicate the gospel through stories?
All right, I'm going to put you on week 5, Riley. Why communicate the gospel through stories? Jules, I saw your hand.
The difference bonding makes.
Good. So that's for week 6. Jules, the difference bonding makes. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. Ella?
Do missionaries destroy cultures?
Yeah. Are you asking me? Do missionaries destroy cultures? And you picked an author who's very well known. His most famous book, The Peace Child. Maybe you've heard of that. All right. Someone else? Miriam?
I will do the missionaries' role in culture change.
The missionaries' role in culture change. Okay, Miriam, that's week 8. And I'll update this. Miriam. Missionaries. Role in culture change. Okay. Anybody else have one? Doesn't have to be today. But Paul, did I see your hand? Okay. Sorry, I just saw you do that. Okay. Think a little bit more. Let's see. James, still waiting to hear from you. And is this you and Paul, I guess? Okay. You don't have to give it today. I would like to have them by the end of the week at least. But if you see one there and you decide you want to do it, let me know. Okay. All right. And Hadley. Is it? All right. I do have to scroll down here, but it's on your syllabus. And what I'll do is I'll go into Canvas and stick these in the calendar that's in your syllabus, change it for you. Number 4, understand how people from other cultures behave in relation to the norms of their society by conducting an interview with someone. Now this is the big assignment for this class, okay? It's called the cultural profile, and there are 2 big parts to it. One is an interview that you will do with somebody from another culture. Now let's say, James, you were in like non-Christian religions, you were in non-Christian religions, and so you did something similar with respect to somebody from another religion. This can be anybody from a different culture. And then the second part of it is studying the cultural cluster and specifically the country where that person is from, where their roots are, and then analyzing that and putting the 2 together. So, personal interview, letter A. Ideally, the interview should be face-to-face, but a live virtual interview is acceptable. Excuse me. Nonverbal interviews are not permitted, like email and texting, because vocal and body language are important dynamics in the interview. So I really want this to be live, whether it's face-to-face or Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. Bicultural students from FEBC may be interviewed by only one person, okay? And that's to save them from being overwhelmed with, now can somebody here interview Miriam, for example, or Paul? Yeah, I don't mind if you do that if they don't mind, but only one interview, okay? And there are lots of people on campus. Think about all the people on campus that represent other cultures. Go ahead, Delaney.
I think you were just about to answer it, actually.
About MKs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with MKs. MKs are a breed all their own because even though they grew up on a field, depending on their experience, a lot of them actually grew up in an American home life at least, even though they may be involved in the culture. I would say this, that would be my second choice. Try to find somebody that's actually a native of the culture. And now you take somebody like Tricia Gosen. Tricia is an American MK from Argentina, but I've noticed just in interacting with her that in some ways she's actually more Argentine in her makeup than she is American. So when I make that statement, I'm not saying that MKs are not connected to the culture. Is that, you understand? But yeah, you can. Okay. The third bullet point there, the topics covered should be varied in order to gain a broader understanding of the person's culture. And there's just a bunch of suggestions here for you to things you could discuss, things you could ask. Maybe some of you work with somebody, from a different culture. It doesn't have to be a believer, obviously. Or maybe there's somebody back home from your church that you would like to interview. Miriam, you could talk to most anybody because everybody here is from a different culture than you are. But you might find it interesting to find somebody, non-American. So, think about it. Letter B, report on the cultural cluster represented by the person interviewed. And again, we'll talk more about clusters, but you can see there are 10, and this is arbitrary, but within each of those clusters, there are several different countries represented. The one that has the fewest countries is actually the Germanic cluster. It includes, I apologize. I think it's the guy, I think it may be the doctor who's going to do my cataract surgery. By the way, that's probably good it rang. Wednesday, we do not have class because I'm scheduled for cataract surgery. I have to be in West Des Moines at 5:15 in the morning. So, sorry to break your hearts, but there will not be class on Wednesday this week, okay? All right. The Germanic culture would be the one that has the fewest countries represented. Again, we'll get to that. All right. Then, where do you go for your research? Well, there are all kinds of places. By the way, for some papers, you are limited to peer-reviewed academic sources, right? Like EBSCOhost and stuff. This project does not necessitate peer-reviewed sources. And the reason for that is because there are oodles of really good resources out there on culture that are not necessarily peer-reviewed, okay? I would encourage you to stay away from tourist sites, because tourist sites will say whatever they want you to hear about a country just so you'll come visit. You know what I'm saying? You might not get a realistic idea of, what Italy is like by looking at a tourist, company that's trying to get you to go to Italy. So maybe stay away from that sort of thing. But there are lots and lots of resources, and I've given you just a few of them on here. Joshua Project has really done a lot of work in analyzing ethnicities and things, and there's more there than you could digest, but that's a really good source. The Central Intelligence Agency World Factbook just has a lot of data. So, have fun. There's a lot of stuff. So what are you going to do? The results of both the personal interview and the cultural cluster study should be reported in one term paper following these guidelines. Notice the first one, the interview and cluster study will be the two divisions of the paper. Neither section should consume more than 2/3 of the entire paper. I want the paper to be 2,000 words in length, which is, 8 pages or so. So just make sure you don't, have so much interview that you only have a half page left. That's what I'm trying to say. Keep it fairly balanced, okay? And then your bibliography should have at least 5 sources, and I'm just telling you, that's the easiest thing in the world to come up with. Lots and lots of sources out there. Quote each source at least once in the paper. A lot of times students will turn in papers with really nice bibliographic sources, but they never quote them in the paper. And it's not that you can't do that in a formal paper, but quoting your sources really gives credibility to the paper. It shows the reader that you haven't just thrown some books into the bibliography, that you've actually taken time to look them over and mine from them helpful information. So, I do want you to quote something. And I do want footnotes and not parenthetical notes, and the reason for that is because anybody that does master's level work is going to be required to do footnotes. That's just the way it is, at least in the theological world. So a lot of us encourage students right away just to use footnotes. And nowadays, I remember the days when you put a piece of paper in a typewriter and behind it was the guide sheet so you'd know when the footnote line was coming up. Pain in the neck. And now footnoting is so absolutely easy to do. Okay, any questions about that paper? That's the rubric that'll be used to grade it. Just have fun with that. Find somebody. If you get a chance to talk at all about spiritual things, that's fine too. You can ask them about the religion in their country and stuff. The main purpose is not evangelistic, but who knows? Maybe a door would open. Jules?
When is that due?
That is due, and that's, again, it's on the one in the syllabus. The due date for that, did I not put it on here?
I think it's April 15th.
Hang on. Yep, cultural profile, thank you. It's week 13, April 10 through 14, so it would be due, again, it would be due by that Saturday at 11:59. Yeah.
There's no specific questions you want us to ask, just overall.
Yep.
General.
I've given you some examples on here, up there a little farther. So, yeah, I mean, just, kind of think about the kinds of things that you would expect people to ask you about your culture. And think of things you're curious about. Don't be afraid to, I mean, obviously you don't want to ask questions that are going to make both of you feel uncomfortable, but you'll know what to avoid. Foods, customs, dress code, how strict are their laws, do people live in communities of the same, class of people like we do here, mostly of middle-class neighborhoods, lower-class neighborhoods, and so on. Just, like I said, you could talk about religion. What's the dominant religion? Are you a member of that religion, or whatever? Yep. Just tons and tons of questions. Jules?
Are you allowed to ask, like, not immediate family, but still kind of family?
You're not the first one to ask that. I would accept extended family as long as they're not people you know really well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, not super close.
Yeah. Do you have any connection at all with family back in China?
No, but I do have my brother-in-law's family.
Mm-hmm.
He's an MK, and they're in Zambia.
Okay. I would accept that. Yep, that would be fine. I just don't want immediate family people you already know everything about. Good. Zambia. Cool. What's their names?
Rod and Mario Boatman.
Okay, that doesn't ring a bell. Neat. Yeah. Okay. Extra credit. If you want to, you can do up to 2 extra credit assignments. Each one is worth 2% on your final grade, so that can be helpful. Late assignments, when I say 50%, that means up to. I give 50% no matter when it comes in, because otherwise it's hardly worth doing. But notice this, and I struggle with this every semester, but I really don't want to receive anything after Friday before finals week. Finals week, as you know, Monday through Thursday are final exams, and then Friday is all the graduation stuff. So I don't want to be messing with incoming assignments after that last Friday. Please don't do that. There's your grading scale. And again, that's the correct, so you can basically just destroy these, okay? You guys, but that's what it looks like. And then again, I'll replace the article report, put your name and the title of the article in there for you. Questions? Yeah, Paul?
So are we allowed, to take a note from whoever we're presenting the article from them?
Are you allowed to what?
Take notes from the person presenting the article, no?
Yes. I mean, what would be the purpose? What do you?
I'm asking, if it's just to be presenting the article, do we need to take the?
Oh, do you need to? No. Nope. Your only responsibility is to read it and then share in class. But no, there's no need to take notes. By the way, I don't think they printed any notes. They may have printed some. Usually, students just get them right off of here. I think we go back to the Canvas homepage. Yeah, the class notes are right here. Okay, so you can download those. You don't have to print them out. Some students prefer just to do it electronically. I don't care how you do it, right? Any other questions about anything? All right. Jules?
I was looking through the schedule online. Is that the online student schedule? Or
Yeah, the one I just handed you is the wrong one. This is actually the one for the online students. Yeah, and again, it was just an honest mistake. That doesn't mean I make dishonest mistakes. Probably have, but yeah, the one that I want you to follow is one that's in the syllabus. So if you want to go in and print that one out instead, you can just destroy this one, okay? I'm not a tree hugger, so it doesn't hurt my feelings. All right, if that's it, then thank you all very much. When's the next time we're going to meet here? Friday. All right. Which means we're already a little behind schedule, but we'll catch up. Thank you all very much.